So, in conclusion, you are a robot acting out a survival script. That's not all that you are, but the way that you've currently been living, that's what you basically are. 99% of you is a robot acting out a survival script. Spirituality is about transcending that script. And it is possible to transcend that script to radical degrees you might not believe until you start doing some serious spiritual work. Once you see everyone is just acting out their survival script, you stop taking things personally. See? All the ways you struggled to survive as a kid left karma, patterns, scars, wounds, and insecurities and samskaras in your psyche, and now you're left coping with those scars. Spirituality is about purifying and healing those scars, and development is about finding more nuanced and functional ways of surviving. So we're really talking about two things here. We're talking about transcending survival altogether and finding aspects of life that are beyond survival. That's spiritual work. And development work is as important or even more important than the spiritual work. It's not about transcending survival. It's about finding better, more functional, healthier survival strategies, because you still have to survive even if you're spiritual, if you want to live. If you don't want to live, then you don't have to develop survival strategies. Also, I want you to notice that every generation faces new survival challenges and develops unique coping mechanisms with unique blind spots and limits and trade-offs. So the boomer generation, which is popular to meme these days, the okay boomer generation developed certain coping strategies and blind spots, and we're living with those today. Many of our politicians are, their minds are sclerotic with these blind spots, and they're holding society back. But don't think that, it's all the boomers' fault. Every generation will have its own form of this sort of mental sclerosis, especially as it gets older and the previous generation dies. So, Gen X will have its own coping mechanisms and blind spots. Millennials, which is my generation, we have our own coping mechanisms and blind spots. And Zoomers, those of you who are younger than me, you will have your own. They just haven't become apparent yet. So it's a never-ending cycle of growth into more consciousness and love and various limitations and biases and resistance that holds us back from doing that, individually and collectively. Notice how most people around you are surviving reactively, not consciously. They're just scraping together barely some kind of survival strategy. They're doing it from a position of weakness and reactivity, not proactively, consciously, deliberately planning out how they're going to survive. Not deliberately comparing different survival strategies, swapping them out, trying different things, experimenting, trying to improve them, upgrade them. Almost nobody is doing that. So the key distinction here is between opportunistic reactive survival and conscious survival. I'm trying to teach you conscious survival. And then beyond that, how to transcend survival altogether. So I invite you to shift to conscious survival. Stop surviving opportunistically, because down that road lies evil and devilry, as we've talked about. Don't just do what's convenient and easiest and the path of least resistance and what's most lucrative and what gives you the most short-term pleasure. Follow a higher purpose. Live life for a higher purpose. You will be rewarded for it. There are trade-offs. It's harder at first. It's an investment. It's a long-term investment. You make a long-term investment and then it pays dividends for the rest of your life. That's the idea. Are you going to be a wise investor in your own life? Can you think of a better thing to invest into than your own life? What else do you have? If you don't want to invest in your own life, then what are you doing? All right, that's it. Hopefully this gets you a little bit of a better appreciation for the depth and importance of survival. I can't stress this enough. Survival is one of the most important things you can understand in your life, and almost nobody understands it. So make sure you go watch my earlier 2-part series, Understanding Survival Part 1 and Part 2. Combine it with this. You could think of this as Part 3 in a certain sense. And this gets you a very, very nice foundation. And then this is not enough. Now you got to do some of the work. And I'll probably come up with new episodes in the future about survival because there's just so much that could be said about it. There's so many interesting facets to it. I mean, it's basically what all of mankind is up to. Everybody in your life, everybody around you, they're busy running around doing what? Surviving in different ways. And survival is so diverse. There's so many different ways you can do it. It can be so functional, but it can also be so dysfunctional. And that range is enormous.